Hello everyone, welcome back to the Asterix movie commentaries. We're jumping a bit on technically the timeline because it's the third official animated movie when they made. And it's not even one that was based on a proper comic, although it got eventually an adaptation later on. So basically first came the movie and then they came the comic. I'm talking about the 12 Tasks of Asterix, called also 12 Challenges of Asterix in some countries. It's based, as the title implies, on the 12 tasks that Hercules or Heracles, the popular hero of Greek mythology, did in order to become a proper god and being recognized by the rest of the family. In this case, it's a Caesar, it's not one of Caesar's diabolical schemes, but we'll get to it when we get to it. Since there are different copies with different logos, for a more unified starting point starts right before the studio's Idefix logo. You should be seeing a small black screen right before the transition to the studio Idefix logo. Anyway, let's start before that in 3, 2, 1, click. In case you're wondering, Idefix is technically the name of Obelix's pet.
Okay.
In the French and in some other countries, was clearly also a parody of MGM.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. This is why I got the iTunes copy. It has subtitles.
Anyway, the reason why I also picked this movie before the
What's up
writing
with the circus music?
it's because, well, I guess it's foreshadowing for the final part. It's because this was the Asterix movie that I used to watch a lot as a kid. It's surprising enough. I mean, the most famous one technically is the Cleopatra one, but this was one we were broadcasting all the time. So I'm more familiar with this version than the others.
Okay. One thing was a bit odd there. 1 minute the text was, clearly on the background, but now they put a stone thing around it.
I don't know, Dweebs.
Did they forget to But did they just stick something over the French text or something?
I don't know. Anyway,
Discount
the
Bambi?
that's the animation studio, mostly aside from Studio Idefix, were several, like Dargaud Films or the properly Production René Goscinny. But in terms of distribution, Metro Goldwyn Mayer and Cinema International Corporation distributed. Anyway, ahem. Yeah, please, thank you.
That's better.
Anyway, let's start with the usual recap: the fact that the country of Gaul was conquered fiercely by Caius Julius Caesar.
Spock?
No, Dweebs. That's the thing, Dweebs. Popular sculptures and portraits of Caesar portrays him with that kind of appearance.
So they predicted by accident Leonard Nimoy.
Yes.
Accident, Leonard Nimoy was. We're going to talk about the Romans, aren't we?
Subtly. Yeah, but not, of course, not everything, because there is usual village resisting.
I gotta say, for all their might and dominance, they must be crap not to.
Dweebs, would you mind pulling away your hand, please? Thank you.
All 12 of them.
Yes, get it? The 12 hands of Dwibs.
Yeah, that's the. Yeah, I went back in time and changed the movie, so now it's about all 12 of my hands.
Anyway, since it's also a movie made in 1976, you can imagine that the voice acting was not the big priority for the localized version.
It sounds fine.
It's not bad, but it could have been better, I guess. For example, the narrator, it's kind of a wimp. I don't understand why.
He is?
Well, I'm contrasting also this to the Italian version, where it's much more aggressive tone.
I guess what suits one localization suits differently another.
I suppose.
Here he sounds like the usual posh narrator you hear for a documentary, which seems to be
Thank
the
you.
kind of tone that they're fitting.
Rest in peace, village.
He'll be fine, he's been through worse.
He survived worse whips. Obelix is voiced by Michael Kilgarriff.
Personally, I prefer the current English voice actor.
Well-
I think this voice actor, he sounds a bit too low on voice. Like, it's Star Trek. Like, he doesn't sound dumb enough, for lack of a better term.
And now,
Buy
there
our
you go.
books.
Salutations for all the language that buy your books.
See,
Calm down, Asterix. We don't want to get racist now.
So they've even incorporated America into it. A
Yes.
nice one.
And Asterix is voiced by George Baker, the late one. So he died in 2011.
Not really a druid,
Get it?
narrator.
Get a fix. Ha 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 ha.
Weird that the narrator calls him a druid. I never did get that.
He's a druid. That's because that's what he is, Joe. He's a druid.
Well, over here, druid is kind of, a term for one of the girls who turns into wood.
Oh, really?
Like one of those
That's
wood
Dryad,
nymphs.
Jova.
What was that to you?
That's the term different, Jova. It's a Dryad with a Y.
Huh.
Druid is with a U.
Druid sounds like a Welsh word.
No, as usual, no, Obelix, you can't. I mean, that doesn't stop him for trying, but...
So, let me guess. If he drinks anymore, he'll either die or become insane.
Oh, no, Dweebs, there is a story that shows what happens if he drinks the potion regularly like the others at this state.
Let's just say, save it only for emergencies.
Yes, like it happens at the end of
The CGI
of
movie.
the Mention of the Gods or doing the Cleopatra book.
So, in the Cleopatra book, Tio, is Julius Caesar just trying to take over them to impress Cleopatra?
No, it's trying now. Basically when it's not Caesar trying to take over the village, it's someone from a different country that asks help to Asterix with a magic potion.
And here I was about to think that it was about Julius Caesar trying to impress Cleopatra in a Thanos manner.
How long have they been trying
Kinda.
to conquer this one village? Why don't they just give up at this point?
Fresh
because
recruits,
of
Dweebs.
It's because of the
It's
magic.
kind of like training.
Not just that, but it's a matter of pride, basically.
Jesus,
Essentially, James, here's the thing.
the pride
one-
of Rome, everyone.
Here's the thing. Anyone who's a good strategist can often accommodate for any situation. Problem is, the magic potion is what we consider a wrench in the works. The Deus Ex Machina, the thing that pretty much is going to be there to stump the plans. No matter how good they're crafted.
I know a rather good joke. The Roman Empire, but
Also, as usual, the Romans spout some Latin here and there.
Yeah.
Latin,
Oh,
a
what-
language which has pretty much turned into like 85 other different languages.
One problem
Yes.
I've always had with the hand-drawn animated Asterix movies is that while they do go for the checklist and get all the necessary stuff that needs to be in here, I don't know. I always had kind of an issue with the tone because I feel like these movies aren't silly enough, in a way. Like the tone feels a bit too grounded.
Also, in a couple of frames, the animation looks very unfinished.
Looks
Not
off
just-
model.
Yeah, not that too. The animation isn't that, but then again, that was expected at the time. For European animation has never been the best, unless you're talking about like a major theatrical film, which this wasn't, or was it?
No, I don't think it had a theatrical version.
I'm pretty sure it was a
If it-
direct-to-video thing, wasn't it?
If it were a theatrical film, it'd probably only be that case in like France or somewhere.
Mhm, probably. It's just
Let me check. Of course, they're getting inspiration from Hercules.
I mean, they stole the pantheon from the Greeks, and they might as well remember.
Yeah, I was
it.
gonna
Have
say,
they forgotten, though, that
Greek-
Hercules actually managed to win
Hold
all
on.
of those 12 tasks, against the
Foreshadowing,
odds?
But yeah.
Again, okay,
I was gonna say
Rome.
Greek or Roman.
I mean, it's a nice idea, but have you guys forgotten that Hercules won against the incredible odds?
Well,
And-
that's what they think. They're basically all of this is a debate on establishing if the gods are if they're so unstoppable they can be considered gods. But Caesar obviously doesn't want any of it, so he says, "Oh, let's put them to 12 perilous task." So he's confident they will not succeed, and thus it will be conquerable in that case. Otherwise, Rome will have to actually surrender to them.
Again, this is why I think, Caesar, you're a guy of class and history. Don't you think maybe putting them against these big odds is exactly what's going to lead you to fail?
Well, that's because Caesar will take a spin to things, because, as he will say in just a second, the original 12 tasks of Hercules were nice enough, but for the standards of today, outdated, so they had to be
True.
changed.
And for the record, Hercules was part god. So if what
Yeah,
he
there
went
we go.
against is considered too easy, who knows what challenges they could have updated.
My name is Julius Caesar. I invaded England, and I'm having trouble with you plebs.
Oh, don't worry, Julius. You have much worse things to worry about down the line in history.
Well,
hint-
yeah, there was a foreshadowing with Brutus before, so...
How did Julius Caesar die by?
His son killed him.
Yeah, Brutus and Cassius. Well, more like a conjuring led by them.
Hey, Tia, would you say Augustus had it better?
Kinda, Octavius. I mean, he took advantage of the situation, and he managed to conquer the Egypt because of it. But that's a story for another time.
Cleopatra must have been so heartbroken.
Don't you mean Heracles?
Hercules
Yeah,
the
technically the
grosser.
Greek term, but the Roman renamed him Hercules.
I'll admit I kind of like the name Hercules better. No dissing the Greece.
Heracles sounds like the name of
Anyway,
a
a small
disease or
recap in case you don't
Well,
know.
basically, Dibs, a bit of thing. Hercules was called Heracles because Zeus named him after Hera. Hera didn't
His
like
mother.
that.
Yeah.
His mother. Well,
Yeah.
yes, in the Disney version. And I guess in some recent other versions which like to take inspiration from the Disney version, which has a much more pleasant version of Hera.
Yeah, apparently one of the tasks also involved cleaning a stable full of shit.
Oh,
so
well,
obviously we cannot have that.
Well, here's the thing, Tio. Cleaning the stables would have been easier. The thing is, like, well, the horses were man-eating, as in they had razor-sharp teeth, and would chow you down.
Mm-hmm.
Alright, what are these new tasks?
Oh, one by one, Dwibs. Mustn't ruin the surprise. So, here's the thing.
So don't fuck up or else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of
There you
prefer
go.
Sorry.
This guy.
This small guy is gonna be he's gonna keep in check, basically Asterix. Nobody's in check if he manages to succeed each task by, checklisting.
I'll give you this. That guy is incredibly dedicated to his job.
Yep.
Why not just like if you fail most of the tasks?
No, Dwibs.
Nope. Only one error and it's game over, basically.
Essentially, the 12 tasks will take them to Rome. Of course, if they fail on one before getting there, well, it'll be easy to tell they
Getafix
failed.
is like, Caesar is notoriously a liar for these kind of things, and you're gonna believe him.
Either way, Rome's fucked. They're either gonna.
Yeah.
So
They
basically, but considering they don't really have a choice in the matter, Asterix and Obelix are like, whatever, we just do this and see what happens.
I mean, could you imagine the Roman Empire being run by these guys?
But
Obviously, these movies are still much better than the live action ones, because God. But
Live
like I
action
said,
one's really
like I was saying before, I don't know. I kind of feel like they kind of hold back on the silliness, and for no real reason.
Maybe they-
Really?
I
budget.
don't know. I feel like compared to the CGI movie, for example, the CGI movie completely embraced the silliness of Asterix, whereas this one,
to be fair,
this is a good example. This is a good example. But for the most part, the characters just kind of,
no,
talk
hold
in
on.
a grounded way. Go ahead.
To be fair, Pedro, the Cleopatra movie kinda goes, if anything, to me,
Yeah,
goes
that one's
way
better.
too silly.
Honestly,
It even has kind of like a Disney acid sequence.
Mhm.
also I'd say this
Why are
one.
they bobbing their heads like that? It's like they're listening to a
Anyway,
song.
first task, running faster than this guy, a Greek guy called Asbestos. Get it?
Wait, they named a deadly dust after this guy.
Name puns, dweebs, just roll with it.
So basically, you have to race this guy.
And arrive first.
Asterix can run
What's with the
faster than this
sound
guy,
time,
no problem.
It's
Oh,
it's yeah,
that's the one
it's
we
a
have to
bit.
get ready. Seriously, it's like they're bobbing their heads to a sick beat.
This reminds me of a fairy tale.
I was going to say a puzzle pager. That'd be like that great Ace Attorney series. If Leighton had an equivalent to that, that would be what they'd use. Fairy tale.
It does. That's what the crossover is. The Greatest Attorney was kind of Takumi's spiritual successors to the crossovers of sorts.
And then,
There
like
we go.
on a more regular basis.
Hmm.
Oh. No wonder this movie's so short. We lose this first task.
Just a tiny bit. There we go.
Seizure! Sort of.
Hey, he's doping the cheater.
Ah, well, no
Well,
rules against the
these are-
potion.
Actually,
These are
Drebs,
imposed
back in,
restrictions.
not just that, but back in these days, there were no doping laws of any sorts. I mean, they did do something like that in the Olympics book.
Yeah.
But
And also remember, dweebs, this movie was done in 1976, so at the very least 4 or 5 years before the Reagan's law war.
I'll give it
against-
credit. I love the way the guy's animated.
Well, yeah.
Gotta go fast.
Yeah, honestly speaking, as someone who's seen this movie a few times, I'd say this one doesn't really hold back on the humor with its animation at all. I mean, sure, it has some of the
That
quiet
one-
but you need that.
that rocket thing, on the other hand, that was the other extreme. I feel that wasn't necessary.
But it shows how fast he's going.
I'm also not a fan of the.
It even breaks the sound barrier.
Fourth
Also-
wall.
I'm also not a fan of Asterix English voice in this one. It's, I don't know.
I like
Agreed.
it.
And unfortunately, while he was
Oh.
fast, he lacked eyesight, and that's what cost him the race.
Oh.
But hey, at least he was considerate enough to help him across the. It's a good job he didn't walk any faster, otherwise he'd have lost.
Anyway, first completed. And also says to eat an apple in order to be more of an asshole, but whatever. Anyway, easy enough. Second task, throw the javelin. In this case, the challenger is a Persian called Verses.
Who has an incredibly big right arm.
Masturbation joke, obviously. There you go.
Gee, Tio, I wonder which of the two is gonna handle this one.
No, Jova, it's like that character in the water.
He only exercises one half of his body.
Yes. He's the guardian. What was the warrior? The one who was supposed
never would
to
have
defeat the
thought.
grass wolf.
I never would have thought Shyamalan would take inspiration from a movie from Asterix.
And he throws it so far.
It leaves the Earth.
No, it reaches America.
Native America.
Okay.
Unfortunately, that sparked
And
about
calm
a
down, guys.
war.
Calm down.
and he calls the Civil War.
Oh, let's see how Obelix fares.
Come on, guys. This is not Asterix Conquers America. That's a different book.
Go.
What?
It's
It
so
revolves
fast, it spins
around.
around the earth, it still goes.
Wait, if it went around, then that means it goes back to zero. That should mean he's failed.
Because fuck physics.
Yep.
And it's back. Oh, but it's not landed yet. The task is technically still going.
Semantics.
It's gonna land eventually, and Amanda's gonna be dead. Let's not stick around for tragedy.
Anyway,
So
these two
that
were
guy clearly went to the Prometheus school of.
away from things, yeah. These two were just the appetizer. These things are gonna get a bit more challenging here.
Challenge
So we're
number
gonna have to
3.
fight.
Yeah, the next challenger will be a German guy called Cylindric.
Basically, we have to beat him in a wrestling match.
More precisely, well, yeah, martial arts are involved, but it's apparently more judo. Don't understand.
Oh,
Okay.
he doesn't look so bad, does he?
So Obelix commits the fatal flaw of being a bit too cocky for this.
He's underestimating him.
How
Yeah.
ironic. That's usually what happens with the Romans, underestimating them.
Well, that's because Obelix is based basically on brute force, while martial arts are specifically made to contrasting any type of force with sheer technique.
Oh!
I could do this all day. Bump.
It would seem he is very well versed in the tactics of using one's weight against themselves.
But he's still on his feet.
Yeah. Still
And
doesn't work.
and now he's at the other guy's
Third
feet.
time's the charm. So obviously this doesn't require brute force, so Asterix has to use his own
Brain.
diplomacy skills.
Yep.
Yeah, his own strength to get him down.
That actually is one of the few keys of martial arts. If you time your moves right, you can actually pretty much mount the floor of an enemy who's 5 times your weight. Of course,
Again,
you
like
gotta
you
do it
said,
very
using,
well.
using his own strength against him.
So, how about a little practice session?
Yes.
Why are you aiding the enemy?
No.
He's very polite,
Tips.
please.
We're just asking him to show us how to do it. That's all.
Faster. One. Wait, was wrestling? Yeah, wrestling was invented by.
No, this was again it's mentioned that it's judo apparently.
Wasn't
And
wrestling?
now time for some body horror because apparently this guy has very stretchy arms. Ew.
Wasn't wrestling? Wasn't wrestling dated back as far as the Roman era?
Oh, yeah.
Kinda. There was a similar thing called Greek-Roman fighting. I think it's called.
Greco-Roman.
Yeah, it's a fighting discipline. The Olympics. And there you go. Thanks to this guy's only idiocy, Asterix manages to outsmart him and making the task complete.
3 down, 9 to go.
And for some reason, the Senate and Caesar are getting updated on point of this.
I keep thinking they're called a government. Like, I keep forgetting they're a senate.
Oligarchy. Although it was really just the rulership, but we called it oligarchy to
The
make people think.
priestesses on the Isle of Pleasure. That doesn't sound
Oh,
so bad.
Jesus.
Jeez, Caesar.
So, what do you have to do on the Isle of? What do you have to do on the Isle
Well,
of Pleasure?
technically,
though?
they don't
You'll
need to
see.
go there. They just need. The task is simple. They just need to cross a lake. Nothing too much of it.
Let me guess, it's infested with crocodiles and all killer men.
No, dweebs. The crocodiles are for later.
I love how that guy is absolutely certain this time they're not going to make it through. Of course, to be fair, one of the greatest weaknesses of anyone is desire. And that's exactly
Neither of
what
these
this
guys are. Neither of these guys are married.
Nope.
Nope.
There is a story that has Obelix actually falling in love with someone, but it doesn't really go anywhere.
Oh, you mean the one about America, or...
No, well, yeah, that too as well. No, it's Asterix and Obelix take on Caesar. Yeah, here's the problem. Like Caesar said, in the middle of a lake, there is the so-called island of pleasure, where basically these someone apparently can allure people and trap them forever. It's a kind of it's similar to how the sirens, the myth of the sirens of Greek mythology, these half woman, half beast, who lured men who were traveling by ship into their island before eating them.
And then there was the case of that island where, oh god. Do the Romans just have you on dial-up?
Yeah, this reminds me of a Simpsons episode I saw.
You know, it's funny you mentioned that.
Where they're all, I think, Greeks, and then most of them get turned to pigs, and Homer eats them all.
It's
That's
funny
a
you
reference
mentioned that.
to
That's
the
actually
Odyssey. That's
Yeah.
referring to the Odyssey, basically doing one of his travels, Odysseus, or Ulysses, if you want to call him.
He didn't make a sacrifice to the gods, and they were pissed. And
Kinda, but one of these things that happens is that he's trapped on a specific island with a sorcerer called Circe, and one of the things she does is turning all of the crewmates of Ulysses into pigs.
Yep. Oh, and of course it was The Simpsons because the Odyssey was by a Homer.
And now out of nowhere, music video, kinda like. The movie basically just stops for having these music values. It's not even a song, so I have no idea. I guess padding time,
No. It's time for the Yellow Submarine segment.
I suppose.
in the
It's not-
land where I
it's-
was born.
It's not too nonsensical, though, so I don't know.
That's a movie we could watch at some point. The Yellow Submarine.
Yeah.
Watch is a great keyword for that movie, Dweebs.
Remember that Disney remake that was supposed to happen but didn't?
No,
Wait, there
actually,
was
no.
supposed to be a Disney remake of the Yellow Submarine?
Yeah, but I think it was supposed to be done by the studio that made the CGI Christmas Carol movie, but Mars Needs Moms killed it.
Yikes.
That's a shame because the Christmas Carol movie actually was pretty good, despite what some people will tell you.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
It
Like,
definitely played to
it-
Jim Carrey's strengths.
Yeah, it helps also the fact that A Christmas Carol is one of the easiest stories that you can port in. Like, so I don't even remember a particular adaptation that is that bad to be remembered that way.
God.
I'm not so keen on the Patrick Stewart one.
I haven't seen it, so is that a Star Trek special episode?
No. It was a film from like the late 90s.
I know there's at least one bad take that I've seen before, but I can't recall it.
Well, the other one that I can think of are the Mickey Mouse, the CGI one, the Muppets one, the countless parodies like that shows like the Flintstones did. So
There's been hundreds of them.
I guess one.
it's basically a trope in itself, Dweebs, to a point where, for example, where Linkara kind of had to do it for one of his marathons, had to, take a spin on things.
Oh yeah, that's right. When you did the Batman Noel one, that's a comic we
Yes.
covered.
Yes.
Oh, one thing else I do remember. Okay, now I remember.
I
There
remember
was.
that comic actually being pretty good.
Oh yes. Oh yeah. Yeah, that was one of our good comic books.
Anyway, now that the movie has decided it's okay to restart, let's continue.
Now, let's see what his wish is.
Yeah, Obelix is not exactly a man of the traditional pleasure, so what could he desire?
Yeah, food.
Of course, eating.
Lady, there have been plenty of Greek and Roman tales about, the women seducing the men with feasts and whatnot.
Yeah.
Why are you so shocked?
Well, technically Asterix isn't wrong. There are luxury food.
Yeah.
Oh, ambrosia.
And of course, this basically turns the priestess of the Island of Pleasure into basically, first generation feminist.
Nope.
Because they
Wait,
don't care, they
wait.
don't want to hear any more about Obelix's very specific request. Get the fuck out of here.
Well, Obelisk has a point. You're touting yourselves as the ultimate island of pleasure, yet you don't even have something like boar for them to eat? Like, false advertising.
pretty much.
It's like if you go to a restaurant that advertises all Asian food, but they miss out like six countries.
Oh, so we're supposed to believe you have a one-way ticket to Olympus? Yeah, now I know you're Jossin.
Yeah, I'd rather swim. Oh yeah, it's a good job he didn't say. Oh, by the way, there's a time limit. If you're not over here within like 2 days, you fail.
No, there wasn't time limit. Anyway, next task is to resist the hypnotic gaze of an Egyptian, Iris.
Nah, I'm not gonna make a. Been
What?
done. I'm not gonna make a Mega Man X joke, with Iris. That's
Oh,
already
okay.
been done.
Yeah, apparently this is
Bah.
treated like a medical appointment.
Besides, it's not Iris Dweebs, it's Osiris. What's new, Pussycat?
There you go. Apparently, thanks to his hypnotism, he can convince people they're animals.
Eh.
Rude.
Right. I love how he's running it like it's some sort of shop or something, or that's the way I have to go and get.
Again, Dreams, a medical visit. They even have the tablets, like the magazines that you can read while waiting.
I guess my question is, when did Osiris move his businesses into the middle of
No,
Europe?
that's the thing. Osiris is the deity that he's invoking. The main guy is actually called Iris.
I know.
If he hypnotizes me into a bird, if I have to get hypnotized by him, I at least want it to be a bird.
Also, to be fair, Jova, when it comes to Egyptian mythos, is weird, to say the least. I'm talking about
look
people.
at that.
I'm talking about people chopping their dicks for no reasons.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, it was a society where they made pyramids.
Yeah, Pedro, do you have like a trivia for this? I think.
Yes, this guy was used as the first boss, the boss of the Cleopatra episode in the arcade game.
So obviously,
sorry. No, go ahead.
So since Asterix is the one with the more wits of the two, he's gonna try resisting the hypnosis. And how does he do it? By annoying the living shit out of Iris.
Yeah, he even used this as one of his attacks. One day I need to really record that arcade game because it's awesome.
Sure.
It was back when still made games.
I remember the only game I played Asterix games was, I think I got the title now. It's called The Gaul Wars for the PS1. It's basically it's basically a Risk kind of like game with some minor level of platform. See, come on, just don't flash at me, please.
Basically, this guy's greatest weakness is people with ADD.
Kinda, pretty much.
They can't concentrate, and that frustrates him, and when he can't concentrate properly...
he gets hypnotized with his own technique. I don't get it. Okay. Check.
That's 5.
Okay, back.
Basically, it leaves Asterix defeated Iris with annoyance. Anyway, the next one. Yep, very lucky indeed, because the next task is to finish a gigantic meal.
Not just any meal, though.
That's easy.
Oh, the taskmaster doesn't know. Basically, a Belgian chef, Manek Pix, I think it's called, is gonna forge the so-called meal for the Titans.
No. That's the thing. He has made meals for the Titans that are those big.
Oh, okay.
Oh boy, this is going to be like one of them things you get at restaurants today where...
Basically, it's time for some food porn.
You get served something really big, and you have like an hour to eat it all.
And apparently this guy invented potato chips.
Chips. That's
Yeah.
the right name. Don't listen to Americans when they say fries.
Well, don't
Well-
other countries call them fries too?
We call them chips.
Some of them do, others don't. Basically, we call them fried potatoes.
Of course, a
So-
lot of people love to call them French fries. Guess that's why the
Hmm.
Brits hate that.
Well, remember, Jova, the potatoes was first discovered to be edible by 18th century France.
I don't know. I don't think you should eat fish with chicken.
That's the thing with it's.
Obelix will just
we're-
eat anything.
Yeah.
Also, fish with chicken, that's like a common dish meal. I don't care for it myself, but it pops up a lot.
Because he's the fat guy, and fat people always eat everything that's put in front of them. Ha 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 ha.
Honestly, it's just because he's hungry. Like, seriously, Scooby-Doo and Shaggy do all this stuff, and they ain't fat.
It's like, and with the toast, because why not? Well, Jova, it's like what Kalikaro said, they should have died by cholesterolemia by now.
Well, I think Shaggy is gonna have always room.
See, with Obelix is just doing fine.
Good job,
Elephant!
Asterix, for being asked to do
An
that.
entire elephant.
Why don't you throw in sperm whale while you're at it?
Dude, you're a terrible chef, you should have come with a plan B.
Granted, the challenge was to eat everything he had, so either way...
And guess what? For Obelix, it was just an appetizer. Oh well.
We're halfway there now. Speaking of which, the hometown is already getting ahead of themselves, just celebrating.
Yep.
Are they just celebrating the Asterix and Obelix are gone?
No. They're
Well,
celebrating
they're
because they're
celebrating
so...
prematurely their victory. Again, Gerda Fix is like, you shouldn't really trust Caesar's word. Yeah.
About that.
If anything, this sounds like an elaborate trap of Caesar to trap all the village in Rome and then killing them, but maybe it's just paranoid. Actually, not really, Gerda Fix. Where
Well,
did you get that from?
To be
Right,
fair-
so real
to be-
optimist, isn't he?
To be fair to you, there's challenge number 11, which kind of suggests that.
Anyway, next up is basically, well, we don't know the proper geography, but it's easy to assume it's to traverse the inside of the Alps through a cave.
Okay, deal. When it comes to tapping in with the powers of darkness, there's challenge 11, and if you're gonna try and tell me that challenge 8 ain't connected with the powers of darkness, I don't know what is.
True that.
I mean,
We'll
challenge
get to
number
that.
8 is just... You'll see,
Cruel.
audience. You'll see. For now, though, we gotta sleep in the cave.
Well, not just
Very
sleep,
welcoming
just
and warm
pass it-
cave.
Passing through. Basically, the tiger from the Cave of Wonders' evil cousin.
Yeah, like Jesus Christ. I never thought I'd see a cave that would make the likes of Skull from
But
Who's
apparently
Greatest
the place
Adventure
is
look
so
fun.
well visited, we need tickets for it.
Tickets.
Next.
Tickets only. Next.
Basically, this is basically the official excuse for the animators to try to scare the living shit out of the audience for a bit.
Huh.
But it's the thing, Asterix and Obelix are not really impressed by anything.
They're like it's like it reminds me of like Mr. Bean whenever he's on a big ride that's normally kind of scary to somebody
Yeah.
just sleep through it.
Yeah, that's the movie you're referencing. Yeah.
The TV show does that too.
Oh yeah.
Besides,
keep in mind, there are occasions in different stories where Asterix and Obelix had to be scared of something. For example, the thing that the gods are scared the most is what they say, the sky falling on top of their heads.
However,
Well,
there's one thing. They have to go after a beast. Or rather, survive a night with it.
So, yeah, basically. And coming out from the other side.
I'm rather surprised iTunes is a film this old on there. I mean, one
Not
thing, this
really
would be the kind of
surprising me.
film that they put on iTunes, but what do I know? I mean, how
Ah,
they've recently.
Man, Jova, the new set for Mario Tennis Aces
Yes!
was weird.
Wow, Mario Tennis Aces looks awesome.
yeah.
Yeah. Random faces.
Spooky.
Apparently, even the face is scared of the beast.
That was rude.
No, for the beast you have to turn right.
Out of nowhere, we're in a subway.
What?
Okay.
Surely, this is a cave that will drive you mad.
They're on the London Underground.
Maybe
They'll drive anyone
maybe-
insane.
Actually, no, Elysia is one of the subway stations in Paris, I think.
No, I got what happened here. After getting to the door of destiny, unfortunately, Asterix and Obelix didn't pick the right realm, so they came across the completely different.
No, if they go one way, they'll end up in space.
And we don't actually see how the beast looks like. When I was a kid, I was like, wait, was that a scene that was deleted or reason? But no, they genuinely cut away from it.
Don't worry,
And
though.
don't worry,
We'll
when-
find out.
They couldn't afford to draw
Well,
a beast. And now they're in.
Well, we don't know what specific city is, but it's safe to assume they already passed the Alps.
Looks like they're in Italy.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
the
guess
archi-
what? Obelix just ate the beast.
The architecture looks very Italian.
True. Well, remember, Roman architecture and everything. Anyway, the next task, which is regarded by anyone who sees this movie as probably their fan favorite.
It's the cruelest one.
Yeah.
There's a reason all these people are
It's actually
mad.
rather simple. You just need to get a permit. Basically, a tablet, because paper wasn't invented properly yet. So basically, just a simple tablet. A permit called Permit A38.
Yeah.
What does that allow you to do?
You'll see.
Basically, it just requires you to pass the task, basically.
Well, Dwebs, have you ever seen Brazil?
No.
Well, you have seen that scene from Jupiter Ascending. That is supposed to be a throwback to the bureaucracy scene from Brazil.
Anyway,
That's basically what they're gonna do.
That's not gonna take. That's not gonna take 5 minutes, is it?
you'll see, Dribs. You'll
Nope.
see.
That was that scene. The Jupiter Ascending is the biggest problem. It took freaking forever.
Well, that's the thing. That's kind of supposed to be the whole point because bureaucracy takes
see.
forever.
Bit on the nose there, though, don't you think?
Not ominous at all. Alright, easy enough. Where do we get this permit then?
Hell, even my subtitles say ominous music.
Asterix sounds like he's voiced by an 80-year-old. Seriously.
He kinda is George Baker.
I'm Asterix, and I'm.
Well, not by the time this was made. George Baker was born in 1931.
She's only like 46.
Mhm. Anyway, hopefully we found the right place.
Did you say 41 or 31 when he was born?
31.
Yes, he's only right in his 40s.
It was in a Doctor Who episode, by the way.
Yeah, I've heard that name before. I'll look it up.
Doctor Who Full Circle.
Oh, Full Circle. I've heard that's.
It's a 4-parter.
Well, yeah, that was the thing. Doctor Who stories back then were for
Yeah. Anyway,
yeah, I've
look-
seen it. It was during the Fourth Doctor's last season.
Anyway, yeah, I guess we're not having luck because people have better things to do, I guess.
I wonder what kind of work involves a woman pushing you on a swing.
Well, I guess it's better in work as a secretary than other things. Also, yeah, so many stairs. By the way, in case you're wondering, well, I don't think any of you guys played it, but many in the audience may have. The Witcher 3 referenced this particular thing. Not just in terms of bureaucracy, but almost literally by having poor Geralt of Rivia having to get the permit A38 and going through a very lengthy and very annoying process of bureaucracy to get it.
Oh, George Baker was in The Spy Who Loved Me.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Yes, indeed.
The map is up
Well-
here, and the room they need to get to is all the way down there. Oh, we still
At
get
least,
exercise.
Yeah, at least going down the stairs is less exercise even going up. Jesus. Alright. Nope, because we can't have things easy enough, can we?
Maybe I'll go to this
Oh.
one. No, this other one.
Anyway, here's the owner of the place.
Oh boy.
Oh, and to him you listen. That's nice. Totally.
You know, he's probably worked off his meal 3 times over at this point.
Well, that's the thing with nobody eats a lot but doesn't exercise that much. Of course, in order to get the permit 38, you need a more paper stack to work with. Curse. The ride never ends.
Now, this is without a doubt the cruelest task. I know it may not be the hardest, but it's the most cruel one.
Yeah, I relate a lot. Not just for simple bureaucracy, but even for stuff like hospital and medical bills and stuff like that. Yes, it depends how the sanitary system works for each country, but in other cases, like for example mine, it's guaranteed that you need to go through at least one of these kind of very mad-inducing process just to get a simple visit at the hospital.
Just the things to make you hate the Roman numeral alphabet.
And this is the typical animators are on crack scene.
Yes, well, it was simple for the...
Well, that explains why there's so many mad people in town.
And apparently Obelix created the Venus of Milo.
Yeah. Like cartoons love to do this joke.
That's because it's one of the biggest mystery, how the Venus of Milo lost her arms.
This is how it ends.
True, they can't resolve their problem with violence, but Asterix has his wit, so we might as well put it to a good use. So yeah, let's see what happens if we apply their own logic against themselves. It's very
Indeed.
ingenious, actually.
Yes.
So of course, if you throw an entire new element, it works exactly like a wrench in their, bureaucracy cog machine, which starts very slowly, but eventually makes everything fall apart.
All I want is to renew my driver's license, please. That's what it kind of feels like to me. Okay, for jumping over those hurdles just to do something pathetically simple. Okay, now we switch characters.
Well, yeah, that's because, again, Asterix is using the logic of these people against them.
One particular,
Yes.
I think, well, Debs, I think you would appreciate then, like the way my country would usually do a joke like this, where like we have a very popular skit here that also involves taking a jab at bureaucracy, which is literally a guy comes into the thing and asks to renew his thingy. I forgot what it was. And then, okay, you have to come here and bring us the paper. What paper? The paper. What paper? The paper. And they just keep going like this over and over. But that's only for like a couple seconds, and then they move to the next part of the joke.
So eventually, this basically turns the entire place into chaos.
Mm-hmm.
A little taste of their own medicine.
And this is how the Roman Empire fell apart.
It's
Kinda,
one.
actually, Dweebs.
Not from invading forces, but
Well,
from...
the invading forces were like the coup de grace, but the Roman Empire by that point was severely weakened by, amongst other things, too much bloated bureaucracy of anything most of the time. Controlling such a vast amount of territories at the same time with an efficient system was not anymore an option. And there you go.
Thank you.
We just needed to ask.
Sucker.
Jesus. Meanwhile, back in Rome, unfortunately, CCBs was made before the mention of the gods. We're not gonna have a wrestling match for these gladiators.
Oh.
Close enough. And yet, this was way better than what Ridley Scott tried to do with the Gladiator.
It's been ages since I've seen that film.
It aged poorly, but I don't understand why the fan base is still defending it this much. Anyway, it's a bit too loud, so to resolve it quickly, there you go.
Silence, but deadly.
So obviously Caesar is starting to actually kinda having some doubts here. But he's still confident enough for the remaining tasks. Yeah, the problem is that everyone's dead.
About that.
Duh.
Oh.
Oh well.
Challenge number 9.
Basically, cross a gap.
Of course,
Alright.
there's a little twist with the river, little to spice things up.
Yeah, basically we need to walk on an invisible rope. Yeah, nobody says just pass through. Like, there you go, Dweebs. You asked for them, there you go.
Crocodiles.
Yeah, important from Egypt as request from Cleopatra herself. But the only reason Obix doesn't want to go there is because crocodiles do not taste good for him. Also, the lack of an invisible rope, it gives an excuse to the animators to, well, draw less.
Hmm.
I guess.
I get the feeling. I think this. I've never actually read the comic adaptation. Was it written by Goscinny?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, because I think because I have a feeling Goscinny would probably.
No. It actually was done by Uderzo's brother, of all people.
Oh. So I guess it's because I think Goscinny probably would make make this special better if he was writing it. Was Goscinny still alive by this point?
I don't know in what year the comic book was made, but again, this movie was done in 75, 76, so...
By that point, I think he might have been dead.
So, how do we solve this one? Simple. We take the
Just
potion,
go
beat
through.
up the crocodiles,
Actually,
and then let the
Goscinny
crocodiles show us the
Goscinny
way.
died in 77.
Oh, well, by that point, he was probably a bit too old then.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, essentially
Dweebs.
the best solution is to let the crocodiles show us the way.
I mean, it was a last option, but basically this task was solved before even starting.
Yeah.
Ta-dam.
So how many tasks is that now?
9 done, 3 to go.
Are you gonna leave us hiking here? Hello?
No, the next task is to climb a mountain and find an hermit that lives there and answer his supposed riddle.
How hard could
So-
it be?
So basically, when you climb up, you see red, and then he asks you, how's the Pokemon world developed?
Dibs. We're going to see an old man.
True.
Yeah, red.
He's
been
not
up there
that
so
old.
long, he's aged. No, Jova. The lack of proper stuff you get from down below because you've been up there so long causes you to age more. Up there, Red's probably still 16, but now he looks like he's 30.
I forgot how old he is by the time of Sun and Moon. But
He looks to be in
not
his
that much.
20s.
Yeah.
And he still doesn't talk.
He's very antisocial. Come on.
I wouldn't say he's antisocial, he's just not a talker.
Shy, I guess. Jesus, sure.
Attack! Attack! Attack!
And never look back.
What song? What you referencing there, Jova?
The Thief and the Cobbler.
I've never seen that one.
It's basically a watered down Aladdin
just
if
the
you're
recoupled cut
watching
because the Miramax cut is atrocious.
Oh yeah, in fact, both cuts
Gee.
warrant both cuts warrant different viewings. One is essentially one of the greatest animators of all time, the guy behind Who Framed Roger Rabbit, actually getting close to making the magnum opus he wanted to. The one that actually got officially released first, though, was
By
where
Miramax,
Miramax
the
kind of
funder.
got onto it. And let me remind you, he'd been working on this for no less than, I think, 20 years.
Yeah.
That was the Miramax that was run by the Weinstein. That'll explain it.
Basically, I'll just say this, poor guy. We'll sum up more when we get to commentating on that. Hey Tia, when we do commentate on that, which one you want to cover? The Miramax one, or do you want to say...
I guess get the Miramax shit done first so we have a better taste for later.
And hey, it'll be a good way of showing how the recallable cut has
Anyway,
improvements.
here's Saruman, I guess. Or more like the Ice King from Adventure Time, that's more topical.
I don't know, he's not voiced by Tom Kenny.
Norian McKellen.
Actually, Saruman was Christopher Lee.
You said, I thought you said Gandalf.
No, he's
No.
like Saruman.
Beard is more akin to what Christopher Lee had.
Well, both had a beard, but yeah, Saruman's was a lot more like this guy's.
Elaborate. Yeah, just get this over with. Ow.
Yeah, are you sure you're not suffering rheumatism? It is pretty cold out.
Okay. Just get over it. What?
Hmm.
And this turns into a commercial. I don't get this either.
Buy
Ah.
buy 6 hand towels for £9.99.
I get the feeling the Romans may have been stooped on this one and may have just gotten caught into a marketing scheme.
Yeah, clearly.
Oh, that's right.
This
The
is
gods also wanted to know as
The
well.
writers forgot to take their meds.
And apparently the gods are very conflicted about this situation. Bye now.
He's like, okay, we get it.
Zeus, however, is not really that pleased.
Hey,
Jesus.
jeez.
Ugh.
Come on.
Kind of cheaty.
So, Tio, is Zeus still sore about that deal with Sedan?
I guess.
Maybe that's why Sedan's having such a trouble with his
Well, of
remake.
course,
Zeus
Rome's over
messed
there.
up with
All
it.
paths lead to Rome somehow.
Yes. Anyway, 11 tasks sleep in a haunted battlefield.
I'm actually surprised that, too, has there been any other piece of media that has done the whole, walking in circles joke, except we always end up in Rome every single time?
Wah.
Not that I think of.
Well, remember, Jova, the usual saying is that all paths lead to Rome, so you'd think some kind of media would do the walking in circles joke involving that concept.
Huh, I don't recall that saying.
It is common because that's because Rome built streets that went through the entire empire, eventually going backward from then lead to Rome eventually. The closest I remember is a small reference in one of the Lucky Luke cartoon movies, but it's not what you described.
Yeah, one of these days I have to pick one of my personal favorites.
All right.
The Dalton the Treasure of the Daltons movie.
Very dreary. Apparently, as it was said, the haunted souls of Romans who fell into this place still apparently infest the plane. And they just torment the people who pass by.
Oh boy.
Yeah, of course, being ectoplasmic and everything, again, simple violence does not answer.
Oh, great! Now they got the ghost army from Return of the King.
They can even do geometry.
Now all we got to do is get the king to release them from their bond.
Yes. Well, that's the thing, Waves. They're gonna be released from their bonding, but not by doing a favor.
Just get the ghost to invade Rome or kill.
Well, that's the
Well,
thing.
they're
We're just
Romans,
doing their
Dwibs. They wouldn't
business,
invade their
yeah.
own country.
Besides, again, we're just doing their business here. We're tied.
But what if Caesar executed them all? I think they'd have a bit of a bone to pick with him then.
Well, I mean, when
No,
you have something
Dwibs,
that suggests that Caesar actually did execute them, Then maybe, but yeah, I doubt Caesar would have done that.
And Caesar sounds like the kind of guy who would would cut your head off if you like stepped on his cat's tail.
But unfortunately, these ghosts have done the worst thing imaginable, waking Asterix when he was trying to sleep.
I don't know, he seems very understanding. Obelix does at least.
Yeah, sorry, Asterix doesn't have time for your tales of low origin and tragedy.
Yeah, good night, sir.
Keep your spirits up, Kitty, because he's a ghost.
And for some reason, this teleports them in Rome. Yeah, it's never explained.
My guess is that the Romans probably picked up and carried them when the day came.
Possible. The movie also throws a last minute half-assed excuse at the very end, but of course it's more play for laughs than anything.
Good point.
True. Yeah, apparently the last task is surviving the Circus Maximus, and I understand that it's rigged in the favor of Romans, but I don't see it as that much challenging. There you go.
Roma.
It's the official name
A lot of football clubs.
as well. Ow.
Well, that's one thing that would bring the Roman Empire down, his singing.
But there you go. In the meantime, the village as well managed to reach Rome itself. So obviously it means that for the last task, everyone will participate, not just Asterix and Obelix.
Just to make it a fair fight.
Aww. You were almost absent for this movie.
We usually bring you around on these.
Again, this particular story, since it was made without a comic to be based upon, it was tried to be a bit more unconventional. The undisputed tyrant ruler of Rome not managing to make his presence feeling in the room.
Challenge time.
Mhm. But apparently none of them is phased too much by the event, again, as per tradition. Ow, 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 ow.
Bonk, bonk, bonk.
Hmm? Um, there you go. Easy say. There you go. Getafix was prepared for this occasion, so he just prepared some magic potion for everyone.
It's so great that they did not include Hixening the potion in the rules. Then
Early
again,
Caesar was way too overconfident.
then
this
again, I
time.
guess to be fair, even the Gauls would have raised an objection if they said they couldn't use the potion.
True.
Not to mention, like I said, they don't really have that kind of doping logistics yet.
Yeah, logistics are magistics. Nowadays, it's against the rules.
Screw the rules. I have money.
It didn't do Armstrong well.
Which Armstrong?
Which do you think?
There's plenty of them that I know of.
Yes, Dwibs. Louis Armstrong
Recycle
totally
animation,
overdosed for
why
playing
not?
trumpet and jazz.
Yeah, the biker one.
Yeah.
Show off.
Hey, that's why he was called Armstrong. He put so much in his arms.
True. As usual, the village cannot get an argument, set down for themselves. Oh, no.
Yeah, you see, that particular reaction from Obelix right just now, I have an issue with that, because the real Obelix would just go complete ape shit. Like,
That's the thing, it happened before in the movie, so why decide to change things up here? I don't know.
yeah, it's weird.
Okay, you got one.
Hello.
Yeah. Jesus.
Of course, the traditional youth and old.
Yeah. Another one. There you go. The
Stop.
The
Impavi
classic
gladiators
rolling
of
pin.
Rome were reduced to a bunch of children, basically.
So more
So,
or
I
less
guess-
embarrassing than how they actually went out.
I guess the rest of the task have just gone out the window.
Oh, trust me, Dweebs, it gets even worse for the Romans. Okay.
Hey, you haven't lost your head yet.
And now Dweebs try to spot the references. The Hi
Oh,
Donald.
snap.
Donald, Goldfinger.
Huh, you actually wised up to that, Bard.
Yeah.
Serves you right.
Why'd you even bother?
So basically Caesar's last attempt just throwing every single wild animal and see what happens.
Lions, tigers.
Unfortunately, this just means that the Gauls reinvented the circus as the way it was known at the time, at the very least.
How's this for a Cirque Maximus?
Oh. So basically, at this point, the task has pretty much become a farce in itself, and
Wow,
whatever
it really
was
is
the
a
pride
circus.
of Rome was completely shattered.
Well, at least the Romans seem to be enjoying it.
Not everyone.
Yeah, some of them have just completely given up.
Aww.
Circus is ruined.
Forever.
Well, you only show like 10.
And no, Dwibs, they did all 12.
We counted, please, don't worry. But surprisingly enough, Caesar actually keep his words.
At this point, he
That's-
figures...
Very refreshing.
At this point, he figures, you guys must be gods at this point, so... You know
So there
what?
you go.
You
This
can
was
have
also a
Rome.
reason why this was not made by a proper comic book, because basically this sets to the end of a timeline, basically.
Yeah.
While the normal comics function as an anthology.
As for
And
Caesar,
so
though,
the
don't
Roman
worry.
Empire.
This is what happens, man. Caesar decides to basically go in retirement. The Gauls were generous enough to let him just go in exile on its own. So which means he's not going to be killed by Brutus and Cassius in this timeline, I guess. And he's not even alone for this. He basically has what was at the time the last love of his life, his only real weakness that is shown during his conquest, Cleopatra.
Aw.
And so the Roman Empire collapsed and died within a year of them taking over because of their incompetent buffoonery and then them fighting over decision making rather than getting anything done.
Only one
Really?
thing. Apparently...
Thus, all the invaded countries decided to take full advantage of their disarray and win all the battles and take back their own countries in about 5
Oh well,
months.
Dweebs, don't worry. We can just have a feast and reflect with some fourth wall breaking.
Also, I love how the short guy pretty much gets his reward by getting to retire to the Island of Pleasure.
Now I wouldn't go there. They don't even offer. They don't even have chicken there.
Oh, snap.
And there you go. It literally ends with Obelix breaking the fourth wall to get his ultimate pleasure and his boar.
I
What
think you
happened?
have that reversed, Tio. His ultimate pleasure was the boar. The ladies, though.
Well, now he gets
That's-
both the boar and the ladies.
Indeed.
There you go.
And that was the 12 Tasks of Asterix.
Alright,
Why
final
are the
thoughts.
why are the closing credits, friends?
The
Because
original.
Because this is a
Original-
movie made in France, Dwibs.
I know, but the opening titles are in English.
Not for all the versions. But anyway, Dweebs, you go first.
Yeah, it was fine. Although it was starting to lose me by the end there because it just went completely nuts and well, stuff being nuts a lot kind of renders me exhausted.
I'm guessing you feel like that letter half tried a bit too hard. I'm guessing is what you mean.
Yeah, I'm kind of out of breath actually.
I can see that.
Okay, yes, I'm done. Right, I'll let BRB go disconnect everything.
Alright,
Sure.
Pedro?
It's fine. It's fine. I do have some issues with it. I think, like I said, I think the movie kind of cannot decide in a lot of ways whether it wants to be a complete silly movie or a more slightly down to earth, and by down to earth by Asterix standards anyway. It kind of flip flops, like Theo said, like earlier, like Obelix. The first time he got called fat, he went apeshit like he does in the comics. But that other time that I pointed out, he just kind of went, "I'm not fat." Like, I'm consistency, guys. Come on. I don't know. It kind of like Goscinny and Uderzo didn't write any of this, and it shows because there's while I do think that the people making this movie were generally trying to be somewhat faithful to the comics, it kind of misses on some marks to me. I still think the CGI movie is the best one. Like that one feels like it was written by Goscinny, like it in his prime. I mean, Like this one, it's fine for what it is. It's definitely, like I said, the animated films are better than the live action ones at least. But I'm again, I can still look forward on. I still look forward on these movies because of the nostalgia and stuff. But personally, I'm more looking forward to embracing the new CGI series of movies that we have now. I think they're the better movies. But yeah, this is fine for what it is. It works. I haven't read the comic that's based on this.
Me neither. So I don't.
I don't know. I don't know if the comic is better. Uderzo wrote it, right?
There's his brother. Well,
There's his brother. Weird. Okay, fine. Maybe the comic is better. Maybe not. Depends. I guess.
I cannot tell.
Okay.
I guess we'll. That becomes up in the air. It's fine enough. It gets the job done, but I think it could have been better. I think the big problem with this movie is inconsistency. It doesn't know if it wants to be a complete silly fest or a slightly more down to earth kind of thing. And as a result, it kind of flip flops between both, and it doesn't quite work for me, honestly. Sure. Not to mention, like I said, I think this movie should have just completely gone full nuts on okay, maybe not full
well,
nuts.
I mean, did you complain when it went full nuts down the latter half?
Yeah, okay, how about this? Never mind. What I mean is that a middle term, that's what this movie needed. A middle term between the two extremes it flip-flops between. Like it feels like they wanted something. It feels like this movie was directed by two people. One person wanted the opposite of the other. That's
actually
what
was directed by 4 people.
Oh.
Gorginho, there's apparently work partial in this, but the main people were Pierre Vautrin and Henry Gruel.
That probably explains it.
The English version was basically cured separately by another guy called Don Urvik.
That probably explains it. The too many cooks in the kitchen problem.
I can see that, yeah.
Yeah. Like, I feel like this probably would have been better if we had either 1 or 2 people just to focus on and straight on one vision, because, I don't know, it has 4 directors. It kind of shows, if you ask me. But anyway, that's my 2 cents. Go ahead.
Jova?
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed this movie. Contrary to what Pedro thinks, I actually think that it does, for the most part, have its good, nice, subtle, quiet moments. Like, I think there's, one time when I think maybe a joke is stretched a bit too far, and I think that maybe with challenge number 5. Challenge number 8 is definitely, to me, the pinnacle of how well it could done.
The highlight.
Yeah, if anything, I wish that they could have done a bit more to the payoff of challenge number 8. In fact, if anything, challenge number 8, I feel, should have been like challenge number 10 or 11. Like, I
kind of agree.
Yeah, okay. There is one issue I do have with this film. I guess it is the way the challenges are done. Like, well, I get that even in the 12 challenges of Hercules, you could maybe argue that they weren't done in the most ranging bout of difficulty. But I don't know. I mean, for the most part, up until challenge number 8, it does feel like they're actually, upping the ante. But after challenge number 8, it feels like they're a bit flipsy-flopsy with the difficulty or whatnot.
Yeah.
That said, though, the humor definitely overall works well for me. The cast is nice. I do enjoy the voice cast. They deliver the lines well enough for me. A few iffy lines here and there, but for the time it was done, it's par the course. Let's see. I do like how you can consider this to be something of an end since, yes, Caesar finally retires and hey, he gets a happier ending than he does in real life. Ain't that nice?
It's very optimistic.
I think the best thing about Caesar for this is like how it does bring his characterization to a logical conclusion, like finally realizing when to quit with dignity. I will admit though, I do wish there could have been a bit more attention to the final challenge. Like, it's supposed to be the final challenge. Other than that, though, I mean, this movie definitely knew it was set out to be more for humor and stuff. I get that. I do wish that there could have been a bit more tension and challenge in certain areas. So, yeah, overall, I'd say this is a good film. Maybe not the best of the Asterix films, but definitely one of my favorites and one I recommend to you if you're an animation buff or someone who just loves comedy.
Again, there are not many, and as of right now, there are not many animated Asterix movies anyway, so it's very easy to recover in general.
Yep,
One.
plenty across YouTube and all abound. All right then,
Anyway,
but
you're
yeah,
done,
good
Jova?
movie, fun. Then that leaves
All
you,
right.
Tio. Take us away.
Yeah. Yeah, this movie is fine for me, and I'm judging it by now. I used to love it a bit more as a kid, but I can see that it aged. It start to age bad, and I'm fearing that in the future it's gonna get worse. In my cases, my main complaints are, again, the animation, that it looks a bit unfinished in a lot of shots, and the voice acting. I'm not really a big fan of the English voice acting. Personally, I'm more fine with what the Italian localization did. Everyone sounded a bit more imposing with their voices. Here, Verja, only George Baker seems to be the only one who tries amongst all the cast, and to be fair, he's given some major voices here and there, but it doesn't have to work with all the movie, and it kind of shows. As for the movie in itself, the only real task that to me dragged a bit too much was the 12 one, because we get the message, but it goes maybe a bit too long, and the whole thing about the riddle of the old man in the mountain turning into a commercial looks a bit too out of place even for this kind of thing. So, but otherwise, I enjoyed the rest of the other tasks. The highlight, obviously, is task number 8, the Permit A38, because fuck bureaucracy. Anyone
Yes.
who has even tried to be subject to bureaucracy knows the pain that he has to endure. So it's very relatable. But anyway, like also Pedro said, the influence of Garcinia Uderzo, while partially present because we're credited, is still watered down by the others, and I think the theory of being two cooks in the kitchen here makes a lot of sense, in a sense that the product could have turned out a bit better. I fear also the time stamp is also a problem. The fact that this movie is relatively old, it's just 82 minutes. If it was stretched for like another 10-15 minutes, some of the scenes could have been reworked better, other things be explained just a bit. Basically more polishing work.
Yeah, true. And because of the shorter running time, they probably had to scrunch a few challenges.
Well, yeah, I guess. And also the fact that this is another fact in part. I don't know. It's not reported here how much the movie actually did. Not even how much it costed. So I think it did good for it today, because again, it was just the third animated movie, and they made the next one they made was in 1985, Asterix versus Caesar. So there was some minor degree of success here. Just I guess probably not much to keep the thing going, because again, the Asterix animated movies were not planned as a thing, as a continuous thing back then. We seem to be doing now, hopefully. And but back in the day, we were more scarce. The time gap between each of them was very random.
Really?
But like what Pedro said, ultimately, I think this movie, it's just good to be judged by its own time. For today's standards, lacks a couple of things here and there, and the new CGI animated movies that they made and they're still doing nowadays by the time of this recording are basically trumping over these old animated movies.
Alexander Astier and Louis Clichy, for the record.
Mostly
Louis
because
Clichy is
they
the
know
former
what they're
Pixar
doing.
guy. So not just that, too. Like never since Goscinny's death, I've never seen any other either book or other piece of media of Asterix capture Goscinny's writing style so well.
But anyway, that's just it for me for this movie. So in general, this was the 12 Task of Asterix. See you for any of the other animated movies, and eventually the live action one, because fuck me, we need to suffer, I guess.
They're really
Anyway,
that bad?
To give you an idea, Jova,
They're
they,
tedious,
they,
Jova.
they put Monica Bellucci in one of them, and
And-
somehow that doesn't save it. That's
Not
how
only that,
bad it is.
Not only that,
didn't-
Jova.
Well, to be fair, putting Monica Bellucci and the Brothers Grimm didn't save that movie.
Not only that,
How about
Jova,
the
I'm not gonna.
Matrix?
I'm gonna delay too much on this because we're practically done. But basically, to give you an idea, Dibs, two things. For the first live-action movie, Roberto Benigni was chosen as the villain. Yes, really, and he's not even playing Caesar. He's just a random villain guy. And they decided it was a good idea to put this movie against Star Wars Episode 1. Guess what happened?
Yeah.
Well, somehow it birthed a sequel, so I guess it wasn't a complete
like
slaughter.
3 years later, because I think it was the production company had planned a couple of these ahead.
Yeah, apparently 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Keep it actually 4. The last one was, I think, God Save Britannia.
Yeah. There's 5. 1 in 1999, 1 in 2002, 1 in 2004, 1 in 2008, and the 5th one in 2012.
Which one is the 2004 one?
Asterix and Obelisk in Spain.
Oh, I actually don't know about that.
It's based on the album Asterix in Spain. Go figure.
Yeah, we
Well,
know that.
yeah.
It's not, that's one of my favorite albums.
But
actually.
anyway, I think there's too much foreshadowing for this, so see you for whatever Asterix people do next.
See you for when we
ya.
eventually commentate on another Asterix movie, or maybe even Asterix: The Secret of the Magic Potion, coming out this year in December.
Yes.
Hopefully.
Can't wait for that.
Hopefully.
See ya.
Yeah.
See ya.